Okay, so today we're going to talk about drought and conservation reporting. And we're going to go through the source reporting tab that is listed here. And we're going to look at the different types of sources that we have here, starting with surface water. We have covered groundwater in a previous video. In surface water, we have all of the sources that our division has considered to be classified as surface water. So you can think about your intakes, your reservoirs, your streams, your rivers, your canal intakes, whatever the case may be, whatever surface water is coming into your system, it's classified as surface water. When you enter into a surface water source, you're going to see static source information, similar to what was on groundwater and Goody. However, in the source information, there's two sides. There's one side that does not change, that is actually in our database, can't easily be changed, I should say, because it can be changed if there's good reason to change it, but it's not editable by you. So this is just our information we have in our database that identifies this water system's source. We have questions over here that are not required questions to be able to fill out this report, but they are questions that we are asking in hopes that we can get some more additional data about this source. So we're asking for your intake pump, net pump suction head. We are asking for water source type. This is not like the type of water. Is it surface water? Is it groundwater? The water source type we're talking about is where, what type of surface water are you pulling from? Are you pulling from the ocean, reservoir, lake, river, stream, canal, other? These are kind of loose definitions. I don't have any really great definitions for them, but it's just generally to understand what type of water source it is. You can certainly understand if someone marks a canal or an ocean, then the availability might be a little bit more permanent than that of a stream, right? Or less likely to deal with intakes and things like that, because the levels don't, are more controlled and they don't lower as much. The ability to lower and extend your intake. So if you have an intake that is able to be lowered or extended, where you can still have some room to lower it, you still have some room to extend it, you don't have any restrictions or other things that don't allow you to do that, then you can mark yes if you have the ability, no if you don't, and unknown if you don't know if you can extend your intake. There are some folks across the state that have floating intakes that rise or lower based on the water level of the body of water, and so that is obviously an ability to lower or extend their intake. They can do that pretty easily. The last question is on water rights ID, and similar to groundwater, this water rights, our division of water rights issues water rights IDs for sources that are required to have water rights ID, typically surface water sources. So although in groundwater, I didn't expect a whole lot of them to have a water rights ID, for surface water, I would expect almost all of them to have a water rights ID. I don't really know of any other source of water that don't have a water rights ID. Now, you may not have one directly. You may have one indirectly because you buy from someone who has one. Or maybe you have somebody that leases water rights to you. They have a water rights ID. Or perhaps you buy from State Water Project or Central Valley Project, where you have the Bureau of Reclamation or Department of Water Resources, and they have the water rights ID. So whatever the case may be, if you know your water rights ID, you can enter it here. And if you don't know it and you want to get rid of this pop-up, you can probably type something like unknown and it'll accept that as well. And that'll clear the responses for this. Okay, I'm gonna cancel out of that. This question I just went over, which is, did you utilize this source during the reporting period? Similar to groundwater and Goody, utilizing the source is, did I use it? Did I not? And if you put yes, then more fields are required. If you put no, then some of the fields are disabled as 0 and are not allowed to be changed in terms of amount produced during reporting period and pump hours during reporting period. You no longer can edit those because you did not utilize the source. But we still do allow you to report water level, intake level, instant flow rate, and curtailment status. We can still receive that, but we're just not requiring this information to be submitted if you didn't utilize the source. So I'm going to mark yes here, and then I'm going to get to water level. So really cool for water level. We have this feet from surface water bottom and the intake level feet from surface water bottom. Well, in this help tip right here, we also have included a diagram. In this diagram, it's created by one of our staff, we have the surface water level. This is the water level. So this is the distance between the surface water level and the water body bottom, down here at the bottom. Okay. We also show the intake level being the intake pipe level, where the bottom of the intake, whether it's vertical or horizontal, the bottom of the intake and the distance between that and the water body bottom. So we like these diagrams. We think they're useful. We think they're helpful. And we're thinking of creating one also for groundwater and Goody because I think the picture's worth 1,000 words. Okay, so potable amount produced during reporting period. This is super important for surface water because you have a certain quantity of water, perhaps in one of your lakes, in one of your reservoirs, in one of your canals. However, you have an intake to your treatment plant that probably is more representative of the amount that you're actually using. The rest of it just kind of floats by in the river or stays in the reservoir, is not being used by the system. So what we're intending to do by saying potable amount produced during reporting period, we're actually asking for the amount needed to produce the potable water seen by the system. Okay, so if you have, you take a stream flow and some of it goes past it to other people, we don't want that. If you take a stream flow and you take part of it, use it for groundwater recharge, or you use it for some type of impoundment of some sort, and it's not intended to be used ever for potable water, then we don't want that, right? What we're wanting is the amount that is being used for potable water. Now, that being said, if it's being sent to a treatment plant, we want the raw amount being sent to the treatment plant and not necessarily the amount produced by the treatment plant. The raw treated or the raw water versus the treated water. We want the raw water coming into the treatment plant because that is what is necessary to produce that amount that you're sending to customers at the effluent of the treatment plant. So this is really crucial for surface water. We're really getting at the capacity of the system to provide water, and we're really looking at that raw capacity to provide water, and not necessarily your treatment plant effluent. In a later time, we will be able to add treatment plants to this sort of reporting. For those of you who have treatment plants, you already have to do monthly reporting for that. We're hoping to add something like that in the future, but for now, we're asking for as close to the source as possible of what is actually being used to produce potable water. Okay, total pump hours during reporting period. If you can imagine, your Southern California Edison might give you a report of how many pump hours your intake pump ran during the reporting period, and that would be a really good estimate of how long it ran. That coupled with the potable amount produced, if you happen to not have a flow rate, could calculate an average flow rate that you did for the whole reporting period, in this case, a month. So like the previous question about instant flow rate, yeah, instantaneous flow rate is not meant to be super accurate. It's just a visual indicator of how your source is doing at that moment in time. But certainly an average over the reporting period based on the pump hours that you pumped and the amount produced, this is probably a better measure of your average flow rate during that time. But it also can also be misleading too, because it's taking into account some downtime and some pumping to waste and things like that. So these are just different ways in which we're trying to measure the source condition. Similar to groundwater, we're asking if the source was under curtailment. For most surface water sources, because you have a water rights ID, you're not going to put no applicable water rights for the source. And you could put unknown, I guess, if you don't know if you have curtailment. But the ones that had curtailment, all of those curtailments have been lifted. So most everybody should be probably marking no for this question. Lastly, here we have a source comments field that you can fill out. And you can save that progress, and you can see this number down here, this total production during a reporting period in gallons, is tabulating all of the sources that this water system has, and it's adding them all together in gallons just to give you an idea of how much volume is flowing through. It gives you a chance to do an error check, so you can kind of track how many gallons are being tracked as of now. I believe I talked about all these fields, but in each one of these fields, for most of these fields, you can enter a date measured, which is the date in which you measured that water level or intake level. This one cannot be changed. This is fixed to the end of the month because it's a monthly reporting period. And instant flow rate also has a date as well of the date in which you measured the flow rate. And then we also have units of measure for 2 of the fields. This potable amount produced in a reporting period has 4 options for surface water: acre feet, gallons, 100 cubic feet, and million gallons. The instant flow rate units of measure has 3 options: gallons per minute, gallons per day, and cubic feet per second. And lastly, some of these have not available marked. If you mark not available, this source will show yellow, and this source will be marked yellow here, and source reporting will also be marked yellow up here. However, you will still be able to submit your report. This is indicating you have answered a required question, you've just not provided data. So we do consider that to be answered, even if you don't have that data. And so we do allow you to still submit your report with yellow in these fields. Okay? And water level, intake level, total pump hours, and instant flow rate all have this not available option where you do not have to provide that data. However, amount produced during reporting period is required. It does not have a way to bypass.